Several years ago, a George Gallup public opinion poll did a survey of Americans and asked a very interesting question. They asked several thousand people whether they had ever had what they would call a religious experience, a personal experience of whatever sort that brought them somehow into the close presence of God. The survey also asked several other questions, including whether the people went to church and what each person's denomination was. Now, how do you think we Episcopalians came out in terms of having religious experiences? No, we weren't last. We weren't next to last. In fact, we were at the very top of the mainline denominations. Somewhere between 70 and 80% of the Episcopalians surveyed said that they had at least one time in their life had some sort of religious experience. That's a lot. And yet we seem to be like the disciples after the Transfiguration, who kept silent and in those days told no one of the events they had seen. There are a lot of people out there who have had some really important things happen to them, but who have never had a chance to talk about that or to locate that in terms of the rest of their lives. Yet this is very real. God is real, and God sometimes makes that quite clear. The gift of glory, the moments of the presence of God, the special times, whatever they may be, are given to us as a light on the road. They're given to us to help us when things get dark, or perhaps worse, when things get ordinary and dull, and we seem right back where we started. Now, mountains are exhilarating places. Maybe it's a feeling of being lifted up from the valley below. Maybe it's the intensity of the sun and the sky or the thin air. Maybe it's a feeling of being on top of the world with a bird's eye view as far as the eye can see. And our everyday problems seem to disappear up on the high places. One of the more interesting facets of my ministry was when I was the director of an Episcopal wilderness therapy program for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade children from the inner city. The opportunity of being far away in nature to work on socialization and problem solving left these youngsters with an invaluable experience. It was an invaluable opportunity for me as well when I would venture out into isolated mountain ranges to meet the groups. I found it to be an immensely spiritual experience. Mountains are very special places because we don't live high on the peaks, but lift ourselves up from our normal existence to reach to the sky, to be closer to God, as it were. And one day, Jesus took his disciples, Peter, James, and John, for a hike up a high mountain. Little did they know how extraordinarily special this outing would turn out to be. Once on the top, while he was praying, Jesus' appearance was dramatically changed, and he became dazzling white in their sight. And there appeared Moses and Elijah conversing with him, and then God the Father proclaimed Jesus as his Son. It's called the Transfiguration, which in Greek is metamorphosis, meaning things are changing. When one encounters the living God, things start changing. To climb the Mount of Transfiguration is to be transformed by God's love. Love and conflict, of course, are close companions because love is to care about one another, to invest oneself in something beyond oneself. Love is costly because it draws away from the basic human impulse to protect oneself. Peter wants to enshrine the glory held on the mountaintop. He would be happy to just stay there forever. But Jesus tells him and the other two disciples They have to go back down because the true power and glory of God lay in their ministry to the people in the valleys below. Like the sick little boy they will meet immediately upon returning down from the mountain. Remember, Jesus didn't do a lot of ministry on top of the mountains. No, Jesus ministered down in the valleys, where people lived, where people struggled, where people died. That is where the Christ would have us minister alongside him, down in the trenches of life and in our lives. Who can I call to mind when hearing the story of Jesus' transfiguration, the mountaintop experiences which have changed our lives and those of important people of history who have so greatly influenced us? The transfiguration is not so much about how Jesus was changed, but how we are changed and transformed to become agents of his transforming love. Agents of his transforming presence, transfiguring us in every day, in the ordinary and the seemingly mundane world of our existence, empowered by our mountaintop experiences. And so, as we complete this cycle of our church year, as we leave the season of Epiphany and prepare for the season of Lent, we see God's only Son revealed in glory on the mountaintop. We started this season with a visit from the Magi, come to worship the newborn King. We complete the season this Sunday with Jesus leading the disciples away from the kingly heights and back to the squalor of a conquered nation, Israel. Jesus, who is the Christ, the Son of God, leads us away too, away from the mountain and back into the reality of life. And yet, as we ponder the paradox that is Christ's life and ministry, as we remember the mountaintops of Christ and the ministry while away from the mountaintops, we then realize that there is no way to understand who Jesus is or who he is meant to be for us, regardless of our mountaintop experiences, until we have lived into our Lenten journey, and then live that journey to the very end, an end well away from the grandeur of lofty vistas and holy places, a journey that leads us to a lonely, desolate place named Golgotha. Only after those experiences can we join in the joyous celebration of the resurrection morning. Only then can we begin to make sense of our transfiguring experiences. Only then can we begin to realize the passion which our God pursues us. Only then can we understand not only the mountaintop experiences, but also the solitary desert experiences, and understand that we are not abandoned in either place, be it desert or mountaintop. Within both places are the seeds of our salvation. Within both places is our God. Amen.